Hey folks, welcome back to Max Nave Horsemanship again, and with a series I'm calling Baby Steps because we're working with a baby, and small steps, that's how you get places. Now today I'm not going to bore you with a lot that we're going to do. I'm not even sure how much we're going to do because the footing in here is terrible. I'll quickly explain that. From the last couple of videos, I mentioned a bit that, well, we had some nice weather. A lot of snow melted, then it got cool, froze. Then it rained for a couple of days. Well, it made a nice sheet ice on top of everything. And then the temperature dropped back down and it snowed. So we got snow on top of ice, and with the snow on top, you don't know what you're walking on. You don't know what's underneath. There's an area in here that I know behind me here is ice. I know it because I've been there. Where I'm standing right now, it's not horrible. It wasn't disturbed much. We didn't pack it down much in this area. So it's actually pretty decent in this area. But yeah, we're probably not going to do anything terribly strenuous with her today because, again, just like my last video, footing's a concern. And, this isn't even good footing on a good day because this is a portable round pen. And it's just set up in a pasture. It's just grass underneath, so it's not like it's got a nice sand footing in it that would be exceptionally good or anything. It's just a contained area, and I like it. It's a nice, robust fence that keeps other horses out and keeps this one in. And that's more than anything what I want. Now, talk a little bit about what we're doing because, like I said, I don't want to bore you with what I'm doing because I'm going to do the same things over and over and over and over. Many of the same things. And I know you don't want to see them over and over and over and over 100 times. But think about it with, say you got a kid and you want them to learn the alphabet. They're going to recite that alphabet 100 times. They're going to go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, and all, you know what I mean. And they're going to do that over and over and over. That's how they learn it. Same is true of your horse. And just about everything we've done with this horse, and she's actually learned quite a few things already. I'm pretty impressed. But none of them are super good, and all of them are going to have to be done over and over and over. And depending on what it is, maybe 100 times. I don't know. But we're going to do what we have to do because that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to do the same thing. And I know that your friends aren't going to want to stand there and watch you doing it 100 times over, right? Well, I'm not going to make you do that either. I'm just going to tell you, everything you've seen in previous videos that I've done with this horse, I'm doing again, over and over. I'm going to have her move. I'm going to have her disengage. I'm going to have her yield. I'm going to have her back up. I'm going to have her lead. And I'm going to work on all forms of desensitizing with her. All these things that you've already seen, I'm not going to bore you with. But I am going to talk about a couple things that are important. And one is a comment I got on a recent video that I was very happy with, by the way. This is not a negative comment. Somebody saw me working with the baby, and I guess they kind of put two and two together and go, geez, you must be a good spouse and a parent. And thank you very, very much. A young lady by the YouTube name Ms. Groovalicious, I believe it was. Obviously, that wasn't her real name, but she made that comment, and I thought, that was very, very nice, and thank you very much. But she didn't, I don't know if she even realized what she was onto when she said that, because it's a concept that's extremely important. And I mentioned this once before in a video I did a few years ago. I said that your journey in horsemanship and becoming a better horseman is not about learning methods and techniques. It's more about self-improvement. Because, well, quite frankly, you can't be a good horseman and a jerk at the same time. Not possible. And interesting is that everything that you do with your horse and everything that you do to improve yourself with your horse can be applied to just about anything in life. Any aspect of life you want. I noticed that there was one guy I used to watch his videos and subscribe. He had a group on Facebook too, I think, and I was on there, and he frequently would say things about how people would do things to get better with the horse, and then all of a sudden the spouse would notice a change in them and how much easier they are to get along with, or the kids would notice an improvement, things like that. Because whether it's your kids, your spouse, your co-workers, or just the general public that you're dealing with, as you improve yourself, you become a better person, and well, you're going to be easier to get along with. Well, hopefully, that's kind of what we're shooting for here anyhow. And another story I want to share, and I will mention the guy's name for those of you that aren't familiar. Buck Brannaman. Some of you have probably heard the name. Maybe you've even seen the same interview. But he was in an interview, and he was sharing some stories because he has DVDs out, and he does clinics and stuff. And then, if you don't know who Buck Brannaman is, he happens to be one of the best horsemen in the world. I'm sure there's lots of other guys out there that are pretty darn good too, but he is definitely up there. And in his interview, he shared a story about this couple that kept showing up to his clinics. And he knew they didn't have a horse. And he couldn't understand why they kept showing up at his clinics. And one day, curiosity got the best of him, and he asked them, "Why do you keep coming to my clinics? You don't have a horse." And they said, "We want to learn how to be better parents." Think about that one for a minute. Just goes to show the principles behind horsemanship, being fair, being firm, being consistent. All these things that work with horses also work in just about every aspect of your life too. So I thought it was important to share that with you. Now, a couple other things I want to share with you, totally unrelated to that, is every time a horse gets a scratch on it, which they will, horses have a talent for hurting themselves. They can hurt themselves on a flat, smooth wall if you let them. But every time a horse gets a scratch, don't be calling your vet. That's just a waste of time. Horses have an absolutely amazing ability to heal. And compared to a human, what would be a serious cut on a human would be just a little scratch to a horse. And most times they'll heal up, and there won't even be a trace left. And if you phone your vet, you're going to waste your time and money. Well, their time and your money, well, maybe your time too. Also, don't be calling your vet every time your horse gets a runny nose. Horses are not entirely unlike humans in that respect, that they get colds, and they have bad days where they don't feel too good, and maybe they have a runny nose, and maybe they're coughing a bit. And if you happen to go out one day and you notice the horse has got a runny nose, don't get terrible excited. Keep an eye on it. I'll always encourage people to pay attention and that sort of thing. And if it persists or gets worse, well, it wouldn't hurt to give your vet a call. I wouldn't say don't do it, but the minute you see a runny nose, don't run out and phone your vet. It's going to end up wasting their time and costing you a pile of money for something that the horse is probably going to be over in a couple of days. Even one of my own horses, I'll share a little story on that one. Went out to see her one day, and it was very clear she wasn't herself. She was very lethargic, barely moving, all this stuff. The next day, she's just soaking wet with sweat, and I knew she hadn't been running around. But I thought, well, that's a good sign in a way. If she had a fever of some kind, that means that she's getting over it. And so I thought, I'll just wait one more day. And sure enough, the third day she was tearing around just as right as rain, and nothing wrong with her at all. So and I didn't have to make a call to the vet. I didn't spend any money. All I did was be patient and wait, and well, nature took care of itself, and she got better. So that's my story there, and I think I'll stop at that one. Otherwise, I'll be standing here all day telling you stories. I don't think you want to hear that, although some of them aren't bad. You can learn a bit from them, but one of the things that I've talked about is you're being flexible, and a lot of what I do is they're guidelines only. Some of it I've picked up from watching other guys, their videos or in person or whatever. But a lot of stuff I just kind of make up as I go, and that's what you're going to have to do too, is just figure out what's going to work, because horses are, well, not unlike humans. I've said this many times, is they have a personality that dictates how you're going to interact with them, and what might work for one will not work for another. So I'm just giving you guys, some ideas. That's all. Just giving you ideas, and some of the things that you're going to have to run through. Now, obviously, with this horse, there's a lot of stuff I'm not going to get to show you with this one because she's nowhere near that age where I'd be doing a lot of the stuff that I would do with an adult horse. But one of the common things with young horses is people are hesitant to start them. They go, oh. And the question is often, how old is okay to start a horse? Well, today. And by starting the horse, I don't mean getting on and riding it. But right from the day they're born, you can start teaching them to trust humans. You can teach them how to behave, how to interact, and all that stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can teach your horse straight from day one. And in all my videos, you haven't seen this horse ripping around, and I haven't been making her work hard or anything like that. My goodness, on her own when she's out running around the pasture, she exerts herself a whole lot more than she ever does when she's with me. So, I'm not going to be stressing the young little bones and that sort of thing any more than that she would be doing to herself. In fact, far less. But you can start them very young. Now, when can you start riding them? There's a lot of opinion there. One thing that is quite factual, though, and has been proven, is that they aren't fully physically matured until almost 6 years of age. Now, that varies slightly depending on the breed, and something that happens is a lot of times, particularly with quarter horses, because they're so muscular, and that's fine. I'm not dissing that, but what happens is because of the muscle development on them, they look really beefy at a young age, and a lot of people to this day, it's still very common to start 2-year-olds. I don't agree with that. I think that's too young. And there's another downside to that one too, is that could wind up costing you a pile of money too, because what happens is they generally don't really fill out until about 4. Somewhere between 4 and 5 years of age, they start to really beef out. And if you get a saddle that fits properly at the age of 2, all of a sudden, if you start riding it at 2, which I don't think you should, but if you do, and you get a saddle that fits proper, well, by the time it's 4 or 5 years old, you're going to have to buy a new saddle. And a decent saddle could be a fairly expensive endeavor. So it's not something you want to be replacing. But if you waited till the horse was a little more filled out and mature, well, then you could put a saddle on that would fit just fine, and you're only going to have to buy 1, not 2. So that's kind of my opinion on starting them. Once they've filled out enough that you can fit a saddle to them and you aren't going to have to buy a second one shortly thereafter, you can start doing light riding. This is my opinion. There's lots of variations to this. A lot of people say otherwise, and lots of people, a lot, still think it's okay to start a 2-year-old, and I think absolutely not. 4, you could start doing some light riding at 4. For example, in a round pen or just around your pasture in your yard, that sort of thing. And that way they get used to weight on their back, taking cues from the back, things like that. But I wouldn't do hard work with them and expect them to do the chores of a ranch horse or a herding horse or anything else until they're close to 6 years of age, because that's when they're physically fully developed. And that's why in the race industry, I hate to pick on them again. I did a video on it once before. I'm not a fan of that. And it's very common to start 2-year-olds there. And in fact, younger than 2 years of age, because the way they do it is they all have January 1 for birthday. So in fact, the 2-year-olds that you see racing might not even be 2 years old. And you hear of something called breakdowns. Well, they're actually broken legs, broken bones, and usually results in the horse being put down. And you hear a lot of that on the racetrack. And that is because, in my opinion, they're starting them way too young. And if you don't stress those very immature bones to the kind of levels that race horses have to endure, you could probably avoid a lot of that. So anyhow, we're going to do some of our work with her. She still likes having her neck scratched. We're going to do some leading, some disengaging, some yielding, and all this stuff, all the stuff I've been showing you, desensitizing and all that stuff. I've got to go through all that stuff with her, and because you don't want to see it again, so I'm not going to put it on camera this time. But I've showed you what we're doing, and when we do something new that I haven't put on film yet, film, no, people don't use film anymore. Digital video, yeah. Anyhow, when I do something new that you haven't seen, I'll bring you in. Don't worry, you won't get to miss anything. But what we're going to be doing now is going to be a repeat of something you've seen before. So there's absolutely no purpose in showing it to you over and over again, because I'm pretty sure that you won't watch to the end of the video if that's the case. In fact, if I start off doing something you've already seen, you might not watch the video at all. That'd really be bad. Well. Anyhow, that's all you're going to get to see for today. I'm not going to bore you with anything else. So, but take care, have a good day, spend some time with your horse, and we'll see you later. Bye now.